Hello again. Welcome to another lesson in Algebra 1. Today we are covering section 3.3, solve multi-step equations. Okay, warm up. We're going to solve each. These are two-step equations for the most part, so let's take a look at our directions for this again. Remember, we do the order of operations in opposite order. Okay, so I have 4x minus 7 equals 24, and I want to undo them in the opposite order. So we're going to start with add and subtract part and go reverse. So our inverse operation here would be to undo the subtract 7 before we undo the times by 4. So the undo of subtract 7 is add 7. So 24 plus 7 will give me 31 on the right side, and on the left side, the 9, 7, and the plus 7 cancel out. The inverse of times by 4 is divide by 4, and this will give me 7.75. Although you could write your answer as 31 over 4, which is a reduced improper fraction. But I prefer the decimal in this case. Okay. Number 2, we are subtracting first in this case. So subtract 4 for our first inverse operation to both sides will give us 2/3 x equals negative 12. And then even though you're not required to, I always show my inverse operation on the fraction ones. So this is 3/2. This will give us negative 12 times 3, which is negative 36, divided by 2 is negative 18. Number 3, first combine these like terms on the left side. So 12x minus 3 equals 45. Okay, it's very similar to ones we did last time in the classwork, except we just brought down this minus 3 with it. Okay, now I have a two-step equation. So I'll undo it with adding first. This will give me 48. And then divide by 12 to get 4. All right, our last one of these. We have 0 equals 8x minus 10. So I'll add 10 to both sides to get 10 equals 8x. And then divide both sides by 8. And this will give me 1.25. But you also could have written your answer as an improper fraction in its reduced form. Please don't leave it as 10 over 8. Whichever one you prefer. In this case, I'm going to go with the decimal. Okay, so don't give me both. All right, the output of a function is 3 less than 2 times the input. Write a function rule to represent that statement. Okay, so that's our first part. So the output of a function is y. Is equals. And then we have 3 less than 2 times the input. Remember, less than is subtraction, but it flips the order. So the 3 is going to go to the back, and 2 times the input goes to the front. That was our first part. Now we're supposed to use our function to find the input when the output is 3. So I plug 3 in for the output, and that gives me add 3 to both sides, and then divide by 2. And that means the input 3 made the output 3. So the input and the output were the same in this case. All right? Solving multi-step equations. Start by simplifying the expressions on each side of the equation. Be careful that you are simplifying on the sides of the equation and not doing inverse operations. Okay? And then use inverse operations to isolate the variable. Number 1. Okay, so this is a lot like number 3 in our warm-up. So we have to look at the left side of our equation, okay, which is an expression that has not been simplified yet. So we have to simplify that expression. So we could do by combining the like terms. This will give me 5x, and then the minus 10 doesn't go with them. Okay, and then when I'm done, I have a two-step equation, and I use my inverse operations to isolate the variable. Okay, so I get 5x equals 30, and then I divide by 5 to give me 6. Now, I do not require checks to be shown, but it is a good habit to get into of showing or practicing on the side of the paper just to make sure you got it right. So a check for this really should be like this. 8 times 6 minus 3 times 6 minus 10 equals 20, question mark. And then you work it out. So 48 minus 18 minus 10 equals 20, question mark. 48 minus 18 is 30, and 30 minus 10 is 20. So you know you did it right. Okay. However, a lot of times you'll see me in class, if you ask me for help to see if I did it right, if you did it right, where all I'll do is take the calculator out and I'll say 8 times 6 minus 3 times 6 minus 10, and then I'll just hit enter to see if it gets 20. Okay. All right, number 2, we do 7x plus 2x plus 12 equals 39. We combine the 7x and 2x together to make 9x plus 12 equals 39. And now I've got a two-step equation. So I simplified the expression on the left side. So just pretend like the equals and the 39 is not there, put all the like terms together, and then when you're done, you end up with a two-step equation. And you solve it by subtracting 12 to both sides to get 27, and then dividing by 9 to both sides to get 3. All right, number 3. We've got 5x minus 4x plus 12 equals 17. So this side of the equation, this expression over here, was not simplified. So I distributed the negative 4 to make negative 4x and positive 12. There's the negative 4x right here, and there's the positive 12 there. Combine the like terms. 5x minus 4x is 1x, but we don't write the 1. Then we still have plus 12 equals 17. Subtract 12 to both sides, and we get 5. So the result was a one-step equation. Okay. This time, the expression that's not simplified is on the right side. So we combine it to make 10x minus 7. Add 7 to both sides to get 20 equals 10x, and then divide by 10 to get 2. Okay. So remember, this is 9x plus 1x. So 9 plus 1 is 10. Put the x back. All right. Another trick here, you're going to see these in our classwork next time. This is using our reciprocals again. Remember, order of operations, grouping symbols, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. When I look at this problem, it's like a multiply and a grouping symbol. So I could undo the multiply first if I felt like. It would help me instead of using the distributor property. Because if you distribute 3/2 to 3x into 5, I get fractions for both of them, and then I got to solve a whole problem with fractions. Instead, I'll undo the multiply part first with its reverse of 2/3. And then 24 times negative 2 will make negative 48. Divide it by 3 will give me negative 16. On this side, this cancels out. These are the inverses of each other. So then we just get 3x plus 5. We drop the parentheses away, and we solve the two-step equation. Subtract 5 to give us negative 21, and divide by 3 to get negative 7. Okay, now, you could still have multiplied it in with the distributive property and worked with fractions and solved it. It's not a problem. This is just a trick for when there's a fraction outside of the parentheses on one side of our equation. So over here, I'm going to times both sides by 4/3. It's going to give me z minus 6 equals 48 divided by 3, which is 16. Notice the 4/3 and 3/4 inversed each other away. And then we got left with z minus 6. Now we solve the one-step equation, and that will give us 22. Okay. Last one. So I put negative 5/4 in both parts. Okay. This part will inverse away. So I'm left with 4a minus 1. You can drop the parentheses now. And we have equals negative 35. I add 1 to both sides to get 4a as negative 34. Okay. And then we divide both sides by 4. And we get a is equal to negative 8.5. Okay. All right. So this concludes the notes for today. If you flip it over, there is a follow-up which has 4 questions, very similar, just solving that before. If you're having trouble on these, flip back, watch the video again. It really will help. Pay attention closer, see what's going on. And then we followed up with a math journal. Now the final answers are down here, but your work must match very well, okay? So your work has to go with the answer that's down here. So be careful, okay? And then in the journal it says answers vary because you have to figure out what Jimbo did wrong and then explain it. Okay? I'll see you in class next time.